De Halve Maan Straffe Hendrik Bruges Quadrupel.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one today from De Halve Maan Brewery, and this is their Straffe Hendrik Bruges Quadrupel. I don't know whether I should be having this now, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. This is an 11% quadruple. This is heavy duty, believe me. I tried their triple and that was really nice, and the quadruple is obviously higher in ABV, and it's obviously a lot more flavour intense. One thing I do want to get out of the way first is just a quick history of the brewery. They're based in Bruges. They've been going since the mid 1800s, I think. They are the oldest brewery in Bruges. The location where they are based there has been a brewery there since I think the 14th century, and they've continued brewing on that location. Obviously not De Halve Maan Brewery, but there has been beer brewed on that location. Now, De Halve Maan Brewery, if you've heard of them before, they do the Bruges Zot, which is an absolutely amazing beer, and they also do the Blanche de Bruges, which is a wit beer brand, if you like. And this Straffe Hendrik is their stronger end of the market. And as I say, the triple is really nice, and this is their quadruple. Rumour has it this is the first quadruple that was brewed in Belgium. I haven't been able to clarify that, but all the evidence points to that being the case. Another thing I want to get out of the way, and maybe I should have done a separate video on this, but I'm just going to mention it here anyway. The bittering units on this, the value is 35, but they're 35 EBUs. Now, EBU differs from IBU. You have IBU, International Bittering Units. EBU is the European Bittering Units. What is the difference? Well, it simply differs in the way the testing is done. The International Bittering Units are carried out using a pipette, which takes a small sample of alcohol or the beer, and it drops it into something called ehtanol, which is like a fatty type alcohol, and they glean the information, the bitterness information from there. Of course, in beer, your bitterness is more or less derived from the alpha acid content, which is gained from the hops. So depending on how long you've boiled your hops, which hop varieties you've used, and at which temperature, that is going to determine what the EBU or the IBU is. They're very similar, it's just the way in which the testing is done. Interesting fact, or boring fact, depending on where you're coming from. In Germany, if you try and brew a Pilsner that is less than 20 EBUs, that is not allowed, that is illegal, you cannot do it. And in Australia, if you brew a beer that is less than 4 IBUs, you cannot call it a beer. So there you go. There always has to be bitterness. Anyway, enough of my boring facts, which will earn you absolutely no money whatsoever. Let's get this beer checked out. Right, Straffe Hendrik. That translates from the Flemish to strong Henry. And why, I don't know. But I'll tell you something, this looks pretty strong. It's 11%. It's a 330ml bottle, and it's a quadruple. Now, obviously, there is a designation for quadruples, triples, doubles, and singles. Your single is usually your blonde. Your double is self-explanatory. That's normally from 5.5 to 7.5 ABV. Your Triples can go from sort of 7.5 to possibly 9, maybe even 9.5, and then anything above that, and you're looking at a quadruple. Quadruples are notoriously strong. They have quite a big ethanol backbone in them, and they usually have to be, well, they do have to be treated with a bit of respect. They're not guzzlers. They are certainly not session beers. You have to really take your time. It's what's known as a degustation now, and a degustation is the process of enjoying beer through the aroma and the flavour, or not just beer, just any alcohol drink. You know, sipping it, basically not fucking guzzling it and knocking it back like it's going out of fashion. So there you go. This contains 2 types of hops, as did the triple. It contains Saarts hops and it contains Styrian Goldings. They're from more or less the same sort of regions. Styrian Goldings come from Slovenia, Austria, around that area. Saarts hops usually come from the easternmost parts of Germany and the Czech Republic. So the geology is pretty similar around there. They use the Halve Maan yeast in there that's used in the triple, and I think they use it in the Bruges and the Bruges Donker as well. If you've not tried either of them, the Bruges the Bruges Donker, try them. They are really good beers. I highly recommend them. And there you go. Let's get it in the glass. I made the mistake of not using a chalice last time, and the carbonation was just insane. So I'm using a chalice today. Here is the cap. It is quite a nice cap. Half moon, as you know, Halve Maan. The Halve Maan translates to not half a man, it translates to half moon. I'm using this chalice today. Before I used I think it was a closed top, either a tulip or a vase type. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to use this chalice here. Now look at that. That looks absolutely gorgeous. But you can see what I mean by the carbonation on this. It looks absolutely fucking divine. What are we getting on the nose? Oh my God, that is lovely. That smells absolutely gorgeous. There's big spirit alcohol in that. Oh, yeah, real big spirit alcohol. Some faint caramel. Slight clove esters, but it's fruity. There's some dark dried fruit on that, like figs. Touch of molasses. It's got everything a good quadruple should have. Now if you look at that in the glass, it looks like a stout from where you're looking, but from my point of view in normal light, that is a very, very, very dark brown. And before this head dissipates, I want to get it down my Gregory Peck. So here goes. Cheers. Oh, fuck. First thing that hits me, ethanol. Then a real strong lactobacillus sourness, which I'm assuming is coming from that yeast. But wow, the warmth that is happening as that's going down. It's actually quite rounded. There is that sourness there. There is quite an intense caramel malt that fades quite quickly. But the ethanol on this is just off the scale. And I like that. So you've got to bear that in mind if you're going to try this, because some people really don't like that strong ethanol, spirit alcohol type flavour. I love it, especially in a Belgian quad or triple. It's actually quite balanced for a quad. But when I say balanced, I mean the caramel malt is balanced. The bitterness on it is balanced. There is a sweetness to it as well, which I'm assuming is coming from some sort of invert sugar or glucose syrup. And that's a good point, actually. What has it got? Can I see whether it has got... Oh no, it's not got it on there. Do you know what? It's got every language in the smallest fucking writing.
Oh, do you ever run those cartoons about that ridiculous little nearsighted old man?
Yeah, this actually contains candy sugar, so it's gone through another fermentation in the bottle, so technically it's triple fermented. That sweetness from the candy sugar does balance everything quite out. It takes the edge off the spirit alcohol slightly, but it's still there. But what I really do like about this one, and I've not had this before on a quad as far as I can remember, is that slightly sour note to it. Now again, that might not be to everyone's taste. I really do like my sour beers. I do like Belgian sour beers. And you know, Flemish red ale, it's from the Flanders region, and of course Bruges is in West Flanders, so having that slight soury ester coming from the yeast is quite nice. It's surprisingly drinkable. Other quads that I've had are either just huge on the spirit alcohol front, and they really don't appeal to just necking it back. This, on the other hand, is quite balanced. Generally, it's just, as I say, it's just there is a backbone of ethanol, but there's the sourness too. Everything in between that, the flavours that are in between, such as the caramel malt, the slight banana and clove and fruity flavours that you get in here, dark dried fruit like figs, raisin, that type of dark cherry, that type of fruit, that's all very rounded off, nicely put together, and it's just you've got the spirit alcohol at the front, and on the finish you do get that quite sour yeasty ester. Getting a touch of spice on there now, like actually white pepper. That's what it's coming through as for me, and a slight orange peel or orange zest type flavour to it. Now this is really complex, and it's one of them ones that you really do want to sit and savour. I know I keep going over, I keep labouring that point, don't I? But yeah, I really do emphasise that. You just, with quads, you don't want to be fucking necking them back and necking them back, because you will end up with legs of jelly. So what's the verdict on Straffe Hendrick Bruges Quadrupel? Yeah, this is really good. What I especially like about this is the sour ester that's coming off the yeast. The spirit alcohol's big, but all the other flavours, the caramel malt, the dried fruit, the orange zest, and the candy sugar, they're all just balanced perfectly in between. It's like you've got a lane of flavour flanked by two huge flavours, the spirit alcohol, that sour yeast ester, and I really like it. It's not the best quadruple, I have to say. So far, the best one for me was that Brave Apostle. I absolutely love that. But this isn't bad, I have to say. I'm going to give that a solid 8.5 out of 10. I definitely recommend it. But I recommend anything from the Halve Maan Brewery. I've not had a bad beer from them. they just get things right, whether it be the Bruges or the Straffe Hendrick range of beers. They're good, all of them are, and I have to say, again, this is a good one. I would definitely recommend this. As I say, it's not the best, but it's certainly up there, and if you see it, then I really do recommend you get some, or get anything from that brewery, because they are all good. As I say, that's a solid 8.5 out of 10, and yeah, definitely recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.